There's a company that says it has built the most accurate forecasting tool in human history. More accurate than polls, more accurate than analysts, more accurate than experts with decades of experience. And here's the thing, they might be right, but only because of something they'd rather you not think too hard about it. I wanted to understand how prediction markets actually works. Not the pitch, but the mechanism. Because these platforms, Polymarket, Kalshi, and others like them, are growing fast. They're running free grocery stores in New York. They're in your social media feed. They're telling young people they can quit their part-time job by trading on current events. And at this moment, when economy is near record highs, that pitch is landing. So here's what this video is actually about. There's a hidden design inside these platforms, one that explains exactly who benefits when you place a bet, why the accuracy claims are more complicated than they sound, and why the words these companies choose, very, very carefully, are worth billions of dollars to them. Let's start with what these platforms says they are. A prediction market is simple in theory. You bet on whether something will happen, Kamala or Trump, jobs up or jobs down. Yes or no, $1 per contract. The price of that contract at any moment is supposed to reflect the real probability of the outcome. The idea is that financial incentives force honesty. If you're wrong, you lose money, so you'd better be right. Get enough people betting with enough money at stake, and the market price becomes a signal, the clearest possible read, on what's actually going to happen. That's the pitch. That's why CNN put them on screen during election night. That's why the CEO of Polymarket went on 60 Minutes to take a victory lap. But here's what nobody said clearly during that victory lap. For these markets to be accurate, for them to work as truth machines, they actually need insider trading. Think about what a prediction market is really doing. It's aggregating information. The more someone knows, the more confidently they bet, the more their bet moves toward the correct answer. That's the whole system. So what's the ideal trader? Someone who knows the answer. Someone who works at the record label and knows Drake's release date. Someone at the pharmaceutical company who knows the trial results. Someone in a government building who knows what the policy announcement will say tomorrow morning. I talked to one of the leading academic voices on prediction markets, someone the industry itself holds up as the foundational expert. His view was direct. Insiders trading is not an issue for prediction markets. It's actually the goal. You want insiders, the more the better, because that's how the price gets accurate. Now, both Polymarket and Kalshi have announced insider trading rules, ID verification, surveillance systems. But here's the structural problem. A senator I spoke with, he framed it simply. Any bet on a government action is rigged because someone in government knows the outcome. Any bet on a corporate decision, a film release, a policy change, someone with power over that outcome is almost certainly betting on it. And we've never solved insider trading in traditional financial markets. Oil traders made millions on advance knowledge of a presidential announcement in regulated markets with decades of enforcement infrastructure. The idea that two tech startups solved it is not a serious claim. So we have the first open loop. If the accuracy requires insiders and insiders make the market unfair, then the truth machine only works by being rigged. And here's the second thing I needed to understand: the accuracy claim itself. A study out of Vanderbilt University looked at prediction market performance in the 2024 election. On one major platform, markets correctly predicted outcomes 67% of the time. That's better than chance. But the CEO had been on national television, calling his platform the most accurate forecasting tool that the mankind had ever produced. 67%. The jobs report in February, prediction markets forecast 60,000 jobs added. The actual number was off by 150,000. That's not a rounding error, and yet the marketing works, because there's something true underneath it. That's the second open loop. And the answer is, it's not really about accuracy at all. Here's what's actually happening. 85 to 90% of what gets traded on these platforms is sports. On any given day, the front page of Kalshi looks like a sports betting app. Bitcoin price movements every 15 minutes. March Madness brackets with $1 billion prize, promoted by the CEO with the phrase, 90 minutes left to attempt generational wealth. That's not a forecasting tool. That's a casino with better branding. And that branding is doing very specific work. Because the difference between the words investing and gambling is worth an enormous amount of money. A state-regulated sportsbook in New York pays a 51% tax rate. It pays licensing fees in every state where it operates. It's required to provide problem gambling resources, helplines, intervention tools. A platform regulated federally as a financial product pays none of that. No state taxes, no licensing fees, no mandated consumer protections. No restrictions on who can use it. The minimum age is 18, not 21. So the reason these companies call their products event contracts and hedging instruments and talk about the democratization of finance, it's not marketing fluff. It's a regulatory strategy worth billions. And the people funding that strategy have made sure to have friends in the right rooms. When the federal regulator came out publicly in defense of prediction markets, it happened to coincide with the period when prominent political figures had taken advisory roles at both major platforms. That's not an accusation. That's just the observable sequence of events. I kept coming back to the people on the other side of all this. One analysis found that 0.04% of traders on these platforms capture nearly 70% of the profits. That means the other 99.96% are mostly losing, and the people losing aren't abstract. They're in the forums. I've lost $25,000 on sports betting. I took a $2,000 loan, had $1,000 to my name, went all in, and lost everything. Rent is due in 3 days. I was trying to make my mom proud. Every gambling platform needs liquidity. It needs a constant flow of money coming in from people who believe they have an edge. The insiders and the professionals collect that money. The platforms collect their fee either way. And the marketing? It's through the free grocery stores, the influencer networks, the financial language who exists to keep that flow coming. Public health researchers I spoke with were consistent. We are in a gambling crisis, and it's hitting young men particularly hard. The casino is now in everyone's pocket, available at 18, with no trip to a physical location required. Here's what I want to leave you with, because I don't think this story is simply, prediction markets are bad. There is something genuinely interesting in the core idea. When you aggregate information from enough people with real stakes, you do get a signal that's hard to replicate any other way. Researchers use these tools. Institutions use them. The underlying mechanism has real utility, but a tool should be evaluated on what it does the majority of the time, not its theoretical best case. And the majority of the time, right now, these platforms are sports betting apps with a financial vocabulary, optimized for engagement, light on consumer protection, and very carefully avoiding the regulators who would require them to actually protect the people using them. So the question worth sitting with is this. When a new technology shows up claiming to give working people access to something that used to belong only to the powerful, how do you tell the difference between a tool that actually redistributes power and one that just redistributes the money in your pocket upward? Because that question isn't going away. The next platform is already being built, and it'll have a very compelling pitch.